that may be helpful. Okay, that may be helpful to you. So my slide is audible. Yeah, my slide is visible.
Yes, sir.
So I thought that how it would be easy for our students to approach the flag. Okay. So today I am not a speaker alone. Mr. Kapur Chand is a PhD student of the Department of Mining Engineering IIT ISM. He is working on this toolbox for a quite long time. So he will assist us. He will show us how we can go through this journey of flag today. So today we have thought of showing you as a point number one as a starting point, how to start any modeling, any flat simple modeling. One. At the second, many people have asked earlier that the flag slope is a very good toolbox for them to analyze the slope stability. So one variant of the flag is the flag slope. So how to do model with that, with some emphasis, I will point out some important point that is very necessary, because for the last few years experience, so when people have worked on the flag and they have presented in the project, maybe in the BTech as well as in MTech, we have observed, particularly I have observed some problem. Okay, when people have tried to give answer, so when I will deal with that, I will show you that particular portion how things should be. So after we will complete the flat slope, the preliminary one, we will switch over to a simple one that we have discussed in the last class, that it is better how your model is pretty accurate with the real case scenario is if you simulate the lab condition exactly in toto with your numerical modeling, that would be very much beneficial. And we all in our time we have did, or maybe will did, because those who are in the second year they may be doing it in the next semester, that is uniaxial compressive stress. And if not, it has been done in a rock, at least I hope our student is aware in the applied mechanics lab for estimation of the strength of a material, uniaxial compressive strength, they are know very well. So how to do that? Okay. And what are the things we should keep in mind as a parameter to fine tune the accuracy of our model, that I will demonstrate. And finally, we will show you a relevant model that may be very much useful for modeling the slope under dynamic load. So these are the things I have thought of today. So let's see how much we could complete today. So before we go, I must close my screen so that I request Mr. Kapur Chand to share the screen so that we can start.
Okay, sir.
So you start only first the flag window. Okay, normal flag window.
Okay, sir.
So once Mr. Kapur Chand starts, there are few things we need to uh, keep noting down, that what are the steps we should do at the step 1, at the step 2, at the step 3, at the step, and so on and so forth, and how I will make sure that there is no error in my part. Along with that, there should be some rule book on my own part to check, is it accurate, my model is accurate, or some fine tuning. So in this way, we'll approach one by one, and again we'll back, and again we'll advance like that. Okay, you saw your screen. So initially today we'll show a block of rock. Okay, a block of rock. The dimension of the rock is 2 meter by 2 meter. Okay, and how to represent that 2 meter by 2 meter block? That, oh, before we start, yes, you stop here, you stop here, you stop here. You show it again.
Okay, sir.
The first screen. Here in the all flat module, whatever available, you see here the configuration option. Okay, before we start the software, there is a configuration option. There is groundwater flow, GW flow, P stress, plane stress, adjustment of the total stress, C++ UDM module, creep module, dynamic module, thermal module, the two-phase flow module. So these module, groundwater flow is a single phase flow. Suppose we want to analyze some ferritic line is there in a slope, we will use that module. So we will click that. Okay. In our example today, at the end, we will show you the dynamic load, how to use it. Means suppose a blast vibration is there, earthquake is there. So we will click the dynamic box. Okay. Creep behavior, you know, rock showing a creep behavior with time dependent rate. Suppose you are loading, unloading a rock. So a cyclic behavior of the rock is also observed under external loading, cyclic loading condition. So to model that, creep module can be triggered. Thermal is, I have not used for the mining use, but people are saying that this thermal conduction, heat transfer may be used for this simulation. I have not used it. I have no exposure about that. The last is the two-phase flow currently we are working on, that is to simulate the two-phase of a fluid. Okay, two-phase of a fluid. Suppose interaction of the air, interaction of the water, how they are working, and due to that interaction, how a pressure distribution looks like, take shape of it. So suppose for a continuous raining simulation under any underground structure or surface structure we want to model, so you want to trigger that particular box. So these are the box. One box I missed, asymmetric. Asymmetric is suppose an underground well is there. Suppose it is a water well. So you are analyzing only one section of it. Okay, one section of it. I know that if I analyze one section of it, 360 section is more or less equal. So that is asymmetric analysis. Okay. Generally for 2D, we are doing with a plane strain condition. Okay, for a 2D. And here after that you see extra grid variable. We are not taking any extra grid variable. Second, in the window you see system of physical units. Kapur, you show how many units it is possible. You see imperial unit, LP ratio unit is used. So we are using meter, kilogram, and second. Okay, so L is a length measurement meter, for mass measurement kilogram, and for time measurement second. And based on that, our all unit will be retransferred. Okay, retransferred. Here, after that, there is a one tab. It is include structural element. Include structural element may be required. Suppose a civil engineer. Okay, we are a civil engineer. We want to do. Suppose nowadays a telephone tower is a very common structure. Okay, so suppose a telephone structure is erected on a soil. So that basically inserted on a foundation. So the soil property and the rod that is being inserted, that is separate. Okay, so that is a structural element. So for this kind of model, bridge, fire, foundation modeling, we can trigger this particular block so that this kind of module can be integrated in our model. Second is the include advanced constitutive model. The last class we have tried to show you that how there are so many constitutive criteria available for us, and depending upon the material characteristics, depending upon the material you will handle in your site, we will choose the constitutive criteria. And so all software have a limitations on these. Okay, some software offering 10 number of constitutive criteria, some software offering 20 number of constitutive criteria. So those softwares having more constitutive criteria, that software have a greater reach, greater applicability in a different domain of geometry. And last is, you see there is a line, include factor of safety calculation. So why it is required? For all geostructure, okay, ultimately at the end of the day, we are very much passionate about all deterministic method actually gives some value. Okay, factor of safety 1 is 1.5 or 2. So that gives us a psychological confidence. Okay, factor of safety 2 is very good. So at the end of the day, whatever you will analyze, stress, strain, deformation, principal stress, that may not be sufficient to convince the people you are working with, because it is not only a structure, that structure is in and around, there are people working. So you need to keep faith on their confidence. Yes, if it is factor of safety 1.5, 2, it is structure is safe. So this toolbox also have a option that apart from all this calculation, we can also get a factor of safety estimation, because all analytical methods, all deterministic methods that is been available with us, they actually give a factor of safety concept, so or safety factor. So the numerical toolbox also, many numerical toolbox also included this particular parameter. All tools are not included this particular part. There are some other way to represent the factor of safety or safety factor. So you have to do it that manually by interpolating those values. Now so this is the initial window. Once you have a license of a flag, you start that, this window will come. So in the first window, we are selecting based on our requirement. So in the first model, we will not consider any groundwater, we will not consider any dynamic behavior or anything else. It's a common. Only we will calculate the constitutive based on the constitutive criteria and the factor. So we will click the OK button. After you click the OK button, it will come a window that will ask that you please give the file name. Okay, because all file before you start, all generally in a Microsoft window we are very much habituated. Some work is going on, then after you click the save button, it will come with the file name. So here the file name is coming before, so we have to give the file name. Okay, so once we give the file name, our window is ready for doing the program. Okay. So here you see here on the bar there is a file bar. In the file bar there are so many tabs. You click the file tab. There are so many options. Click the file tab. So open project, new project, import project, record. So many. So exit GIC to exit that. There is another button called edit. Okay, you show the edit. It is not coming. All the you show on the go to the next show. Actually, it is not coming anything because there is no program is in the memory because it is started anew. So let's start a new one. So new in general we are all using the graphical user interface, but today we will prefer to use the command mode because from my experience, I think it is better to use the command mode. Okay, so it may Am I audible?
Yes, sir.
There is a disconnection. Okay. So this programming syntax is more or less a logic of the C programming is being followed. Okay. So only some syntax is different, but the flow is just like a C. Logically, it is going on. So we will first go to the console window. First, you click the new, so that everything will be removed. Okay. So you see in our options we can have a dynamic, creep, thermal, CPP/UDM to fetch flow. So go to the console. For programming record. So you start first. You give a dimension of 2 meter by 2 meter block. Okay. We need a block. So how to start with that? Copy that. Take all. So I will explain one by one. Okay. See here, the first line of our command is config. Okay. Means I am configuring my model. Okay. I am configuring my model based on my necessity. So suppose configuring to other tools. Suppose I want to analyze a dynamics one. So what could be the command line? Config then space py. Okay. Config GW means groundwater. So here we are not considering any of them, but we have to configure in the model. The second line is that my dimension is 2 meter by 2 meter. Okay, my block that I am considered here, the dimension is 2 meter by 2 meter. Here in the initial window we have considered it is a SI unit. So 20 meter, 2 meter by 2 meter means 200 centimeter. Yes, 200 centimeter by 200 centimeter is a block. Okay. So that block, I have subdivided that block into 10 horizontally as well as 10 vertically. Okay. In a grid. Okay. And that vertical column grid is a J. Okay, J. And the horizontal row. Okay, J is I is the column. Column 1. Column grid is basically 1 to column to a large. It is the I serial we use. For the vertical row from the bottom to top, we use the J. Okay. So here we have used 10 by 10 grid means we have in this model 100 number of grids. So in my last class, if you remember that in the FLAC or any finite difference based method, we calculate in the localized manner. So 100 number of calculations will be done because on each grid independently my calculation will run. Not that my calculation run on all grids simultaneously. So one grid complete, the next grid, then like that. So we have a computation of 100 number of grids. Okay. So then we use a command to generate the geometry. You see, to generate the geometry, it is a square shaped block. So there's a 4 point. Okay, so 4 point is the 0 0, the first point. The just above that point is the 0 2 meter vertical extension we are going. Then the right end point is the 2 2, and the bottom is the 2 0. Okay, so this has been reflected 0 0 0 2 2 2 2 0. On a distribution of I1 to 10, this number of grids on the column side is 10, number of grid on the row side is the 10. So Kapoor, you please cart the M mode to cycle 1000. Cart it somewhere else and show the rest of the thing so that how it looks like to execute that model. No, copy it somewhere. Cut other things. From M more to cycle 1000, you cut it somewhere else and put it in another file. So one by one it will come. Put it somewhere in a notepad. Yeah. Now you build this particular model. Model more. You give model more. Now rebuild. Okay. So my model with a block of 10 by 10, you see 10 number of grids on the horizontal, 10 number of grids on the bottom vertical, and we have considered Mohr Coulomb constitutive criteria. And Mohr Coulomb constitutive criteria, model M stands for model, MOH word stands for Mohr Coulomb constitutive criteria, and that is from I is equal to 1 to 9, J is equal to 1 to 9. You may ask why in case of 10 to 10 we are only keeping it to 1 to 9. It is the syntax that one less value will be there. For the J also one less value will be there. So model is constructed now. So in any numerical model, there is a very important things we have to remember, that after developing a model, we need to fix the boundary condition. Okay, we need to fix the boundary condition. That is very essential. So this is a block. Okay, this is a block. So this block will definitely stand somewhere. So on a bottom, on a floor, on a table, or anywhere else. So first we have to fix the bottom. Okay, so we have to first assign a boundary condition on this bottom. So before we go to that particular portion, in a numerical syntax, so this is a block that is not void. This is a block not void. Means this material has some amount of mass. So have some mass. So in a flat syntax, we have to mention it is not null. It is a block. So we have to demarcate this is a block, and this block is defined from I is equal to 1 to 10, J is equal to 1 to 10, and it is not null. Okay, there is no void. So please define that. Okay. So after I group it, you see this is a block, and that block is from I to 1 to 10 and J is equal to 1 to 10, and it is a not null. Not null means, suppose why I am mentioning this not null, it is required. Suppose from the top I want to excavate some of the portion. So how to do that? By using null command. Okay, so null command, not null command is very useful. So this null command and the not null command is used for excavation of some amount of material. So suppose on the top portion, so I want to remove the top column, top row. So I will put J is equal to 1 to 9 to 10 is basically null. So that will be removed. So that will not come under the calculation. So in that way, null, not null is very useful word or connotation that is used for modeling. So this is for a modeling syntax. Then we have to define the properties. Material have a property, geotechnical property. One property, most important property, is the density. So we are defining density is equal to DENS, dense. Okay, so density you can write full, or DENS is equal to 1800. It is kg per meter. Then in all the calculation of flat, we are using two modulus. Okay, instead of using Young's modulus and Poisson ratio, here we are using shear modulus and the bulk modulus. Shear modulus is equal to shear, then the value. Bulk modulus is equal to bulk is equal to the value. Then this is a Mohr Coulomb criteria we have considered. So all Mohr Coulomb criteria material have some shear strength. Okay. So in the question we have put 19,000. 19,000 means 19,000 Pascal. 19,000 Pascal. And friction, FRIC friction. This friction is the internal friction angle. Okay. So this is 20 degrees. And this value belongs to the group block. This value belongs to the grid block. Okay. So block is a rock block and that is not null. So this is a mass. So we have defined that. So then once the material is fully defined, we will think about its boundary condition. One boundary condition I have told you that this block should stand somewhere. So if the block is stand somewhere, so the bottom portion will not go on the gravitational attraction. So Earth is pulling everything downward. So to avoid that attraction, we have to fix the bottom one so that this is basically not going beyond that. So it will be hold in that particular portion of it. So first fix the xy. So there is no x displacement as well as y displacement at the point of j is equal to 1. J is equal to 1 is the bottommost grid. Okay. And we have also defined a boundary condition on the both sides. That both sides will not move, left side or right side. So both sides is been fixed with a fixed command. Fixed x means there is no displacement in the x direction for I is equal to 1 on the first one, as well as fixed x on the end point I is equal to 10. Okay. So this is done. Okay. Now define the gravity. Set gravity 9.81. We know everybody knows gravity means the gravitational acceleration. Okay. So all the real property of a physical material we have defined on this block. Okay. Starting from its density, its modular value is required. Why? Because the deformation characteristics of the block is basically dominated or principally dominated by the modular value. And the failure criteria is dominated and the failure pattern dominated by the shear strength coefficient and the friction angle. And here now we have set the gravity. So now on this block, as suppose I am sitting on a chair, this chair is being attracted by the gravitational pull in the downward direction. So this block is also the same. This chair means this block is being pulled with a gravitational acceleration of 9.81. But we have fixed at the bottom, so this block will not move. So we will run this model for a time step. So for suppose 1000 step we will run. So before we run, because if this is a model, so this is a model. Kapoor, you just run for 100 steps. Run for cycle 100 steps. It has been run. Some output is coming. You saw.
Yes, sir.
Some stress or strain, anything? SXX. Okay. So some amount of output is there. What it represents? It represents that due to the load of gravity, the force of the gravity works on that, and there is a uniformly distributed load on this. This is basically strain rate on a different location. So you go to the command window again, where we are doing the programming.
Yes, sir.
So yes, now you reset, because I want to remove the effect due to the gravity. I want to remove the effect due to the gravity because I will apply some load on this particular block. So reset the deformation, displacement, everything. Reset may be used as a reset command. Can you not use it, sir?
Okay, sir. 1 minute.
Okay. Then reset. Okay, here you see the interesting thing. One was the file initially has started, but after the model is run, it has to save in a extension file dot save, SAV, save, dot save mode. Okay. Now plot the SXX, plot SXX. The value is there. Now plot the X displacement field. Plot the X displacement field. XD field. Okay, it's 0, perfectly 0. So we have negated the influence or effect due to the gravity. So now go to the model. Fine. Now on this model, we want to apply a load. Okay. We want to apply a load, is a distributed load on the top. Okay. We want to apply a distributed load on the top. Okay. And suppose we want to apply what 100 kilopascal. How much amount of load we want to apply?
100 kilopascal.
Okay, 100 kilopascal. So we are applying a pressure, uniformly distributed pressure of 100 kilopascal on the top. Then we will run the model. Okay, for 1000 steps. So now show the YD displacement, YD till. So you see, initially on the top, the pattern of the contour of the Y displacement is parallel. Pattern of the Y displacement is more or less the so. And we have left intentionally, one grid on the left side, another grid on the right side. Okay, because you know, on the right side as well as left side is fixed, on the bottom it is fixed. So, to work the pressure, we have intentionally left one grid on the left, one grid on the right. So, on the middle portion from the top, the concentration of the displacement is high. The concentration of the displacement is high. So, suppose in a construction site, we want to test a pre-fabricated fire, or pre-fabricated block. What is the strength of it? I am applying a load. So that situation is exactly reproduced in this numerical model. Okay. Now, in this particular toolbox, once this kind of analysis is done, how to interpret the result? Okay, so go to the interpretation. Suppose I want to show the profile along some line. I want to see some amount of block. Okay. Suppose a profile. Suppose I want to see what is the effect at the top second number of column, second number of row. Second number of rows is stress or disturbance. Yes, right? Right, very good. Okay. Stress, no problem. Contour y displacement, it was okay, no problem. Y displacement, right. Okay, you see, we have got a very nice picture, graph, because both ends you see more or less 0 on the both sides, more or less 0, and it goes on peak at the middle and again reduce. So, the concentrated load is applied, distributed load is applied from the middle. Okay. So this is pretty matching with our consideration that we have applied. So this kind of analysis for doing any model and after doing model how to interpret the result, there are so many toolboxes. This is displacement, you can see the strain, you can see the stress, you can see so many things. Not only that, you go to the model again. Not only that, suppose this model is a sensitive structure. Suppose I want to see how much amount of deformation it has gone to that time period that I have solved. Suppose I want to monitor something. So I can put some point on any grid at any point. And if I mention that, suppose I want to monitor the displacement, I want to monitor the strain, so that will be included in the calculation, and that plot can also be done, can be plotted, and from that data you can analyze that how much amount of deformation has that particular point has underwent. Okay, so this kind of analysis it is possible. So regarding this, this is the first example regarding this. If you have any questions, query, doubt, please raise your hand so that we can answer those things. Then we will move to the second. Balbir, any questions has come? Or anybody can ask directly, no problem.
Good evening, sir.
Yeah, Abhishek.
Sir, can you please show that model related to stress, that red coding, green coding?
I could not understand. Please repeat your question, Abhishek.
Can you please run that slide that we have applied the pressure at the top, and that we can visualize that slide by color coding, red coding, green coding, like that.
Actually, I could not able to understand your question. Can you आप हिंदी में बताइए तो आपका क्वेश्चन समझ में नहीं आ रहा है. Can you repeat your question?
सर, हमने जब पहला मॉडल रन किया था तो उसमें अपन ने जैसे कंडीशंस डाला था कि अपन ने सबसे पहले फिक्स किया था, उसके बाद फिर अपन ने स्ट्रेस डाला था. तो जैसे वहां पे जैसे रेड कलर था, ग्रीन कलर था, ब्लू कलर था, वो क्या सिग्निफाई कर रहा था सर? ओके.
Kapoor,
yes sir.
You go to the console and plot x, y, b or x, s, x.
Okay sir.
Plot x, x, fill. Okay. This is Abhishek. One minute, I will go to the next question. Here, this color indicates the contour. Okay, Abhishek, this color indicates the contour of the stress in the x direction, s, x. Okay. And suppose on the first data that S to I, that is the shear strain increment rate, that is also showing the contour value of different parameters. So it is clear, Abhishek?
Yes sir, yes sir.
You see on the left side, on the contour value, based on this color legend, on the left side there is a value. So this value, suppose 1.75 10 to the power 4. 10 to the power 4 means e to the power 4. So I have to assume e to the power 4 means 10 to the power 4. So 1.75 10 to the power 4 means it is around 17 kilopascal. 17 kilopascal is in the bottom side. 17 kilopascal at the bottom side. And what I have applied? What I have applied? I have applied around 100 kilopascal. 100 kilopascal I have applied.
Yes, sir.
So this is basically showing the stress distribution and stress distribution contour. So there is at the end I have mentioned a fill. A comment is there. Suppose plot is the plot. That plot will do a variable. Variable is the x-axis, the stress along x-axis direction, and fill is basically to fill the grid with the same color of the same value. Is it clear, Abhishek?
Yes, sir, 100% clear, sir. So basically, it is representing the amount of stress that is being generated over that
Not
area.
only, it is a stress contour. Suppose I want to see the deformation contour. You go to the YD. YD, there is already plot is there. YD or XD. Yes. This is a YD plot, means deformation plot. Deformation contour plot. Okay?
Okay, sir. Okay.
It is clear?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now I will go to the next question has come on the chat box. Sikandar Kumar, applying velocity and density plus gravity, both are required, or we can do only apply density and gravity? So Sikandar, can you explain with your own term what do you mean by that?
Sir, actually, I'm talking about when we apply the body weight. So sometimes we see someone applying velocity and someone just put the density and gravity. So I'm a little bit confused. So I need some clarification on this part, sir.
Okay. Thank you, Sikandar. Suppose for our uniaxial compressive strength, when we will go to that module, I will show you in detail what is the role played by the gravity. Okay. Now, suppose I want to analyze any structure, its influence due to its own gravity. So in that case, considering the gravity and density is sufficient with a appropriate boundary condition. Considering the structural response on its own weight, depending upon its geometry and its perfect boundary condition, if we want to test it, then considering density and gravity is sufficient. Is it clear, Sikandar? I will come to the next point. Is it clear?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Right.
Now, you have mentioned that applying velocity and density. Okay. Velocity and density is not corroborated each other. Velocity is required. Maybe, yes, your point is correct in that sense. Here, you have noticed probably that at the top roof of this particular block, we have applied a distributed load. A distributed load, LOAD. Distributed load is the pressure. The pressure is kg per centimeter square or Newton per meter square, whatever it is. So it is a distributed load. It is working on that. In place of that, we can apply. Suppose I put a platen on it, and that platen is moved with a velocity, and same effect will be there. But suppose on the head of a Sikandar, if I put my hand and I will press the Sikandar so hard, so Sikandar will feel a stress within his body, is not it? So my hand is moving with a velocity, I am pressing the head of a Sikandar. That is also equally generated a stress on the body of Sikandar. Same thing is also applied. But there is a problem of applying velocity for this case, because we want to specifically apply this much amount of load. For that case, applying velocity will not suffice the purpose. So applying velocity, you have to do it iteratively. So applying this velocity, suppose 10 to the power minus 6, 10 to the power minus 5, 10 to the power minus 7, and run it for 10,000 steps, how much amount of stress is developed. So that it will go for a loop. one after another, and that will be very difficult to assess. So, assessing a structure under a load, it is better to assume or presume a pressure with a definite value, or if you want to only test the structure, the influence on its own gravity, then density and the gravity is sufficient. So switch on the gravity. Here just like set, we have command used set gravity 9.81. So in another place we can also write switch on the gravity also. There is another command is available. So is it clear, Sikandar, now?
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir.
Now the second question Madhav Singhal has raised, can we design a model by using the inbuilt options instead of using console? Madhav, ये वाला question का समझ में नहीं आया. Can you explain, Madhav?
So like that in other softwares like Adonis and some other numerical modeling software, there are inbuilt options for designing the model.
Inbuilt option means what you are meaning?
So like there here it is build and material in situ. From here we can also load the material or design the model.
So do you mean that some example file is there and you want to use that?
No, sir, we can like that you are giving the command here in console, and we can also do it by using the build option. Here we have to input the coordinates of the points that like the end coordinates of this rectangle. Then we can.
Okay, understood. Yes, Madhav. At the start of our discussion, I have specifically mentioned that GUI version is available for Slack also. So there is no problem. So GUI version means in the tab you will select boundary condition, geometry, you will put like that. That is also available. But there is a big but in that sense. So when I have started learning this toolbox in the year 2006-7 or like that, it is almost 15 years I am working on this. So in the initial days, we used to work. That was at that time Slack was only version 4 was available. So these many development was not there at the GUI. So I feel at that time that with using the GUI, my capacity to do something is limited. My capacity to do some complex problem is limited. So what I understood with the introduction of the Slack expert at that time, because at that time Slack was new in India. So there was a very good support from the Ijasta company as well. So you used to frequently make a conference call like that, because that was not available at the time conference, but there was a Google chat or Yahoo chat like that. So at that time I learned from them. So better to switch over to the command mode, because the command mode has an infinite possibility to do anything you want. And Slack have they used to provide us the manual. There are 18 to 20 number of manuals was available with a page of 100, 150 like that. So I used to follow that book, and that book is means that some command, suppose SDAV, what is the meaning of that? SIG, what is the meaning of that? I know that. So based on that, I understood, once I understood the command, then I can do anything. And here also, before I start of the modeling, there was a option CPP UDM extension. That extension also, if you want to contribute, suppose I want to do some new thing that is not exist in the Slack, but you will use the Slack FDM machine. FDM machine is basically a simulator working on the partial differential equation on a central differential law with a explicit rule. So that machine will be used with your program. So if you know the C++ programming, and that C++ programming can be easily imported and linked together, and your unknown thing that was not feasible in the Slack can also be done in the Slack module using this machine, using this computational capability of the Slack. So my suggestion would be to my students, rather than following the GUI version or the inbuilt whatever function is available, follow the command mode so that once you have learned, you are learning the terminology, you can do anything possible. Anything possible. So your horizon, your approachability, your attacking area to do some modeling will increase. So that is why from the day one, after that I learned, from that day I focus on using the command mode. But GUI version is available, you can use it, there is no problem. So is my answer is sufficient for mother?
Yes, sir, got it.
Okay. So regarding this problem, this model, have anybody have any questions, or we will switch over to the next problem? Okay. So Kapoor, you save this model. We will go to the next model. That would be very easy for understanding people with a flat slope. Okay. Second module of our today's workshop. So this module, in this module, as Madhav Singhal has pointed out, we will use the inbuilt feature. We will use the inbuilt feature. Yes, yes. Here, before, flat slope is a extension of flat. It is using the FDE, PDE solver. It is using partial differential equation solver. The computational capability is used, but there is a big but. It is only concentrated with a specific geometry. It is a specific geometry. It is geometry related to slope. Okay. And there are some few restrictions. And this is a very well used in the geotechnical field globally. Because there are a lot of this kind of software is available in Slide, GeoSlope. Earlier it was used Galena. Okay, so there are number of softwares are used. So to compete with those softwares, Slack has come out with a flat slope. So this will provide is a very easy solution. So in this particular first window, there is a SI unit. So you will select that. So it is necessary to include the structural element for our it is not required. Include water table. For the timing, it is not required. Non-standard gravity is not required. Allow excluded region from the APS. It is not required for the timing. So we will select just OK. Okay. So as previously we have seen, we have to give a name of a model. Any name you please give. Okay. So go to the new. So this new will invoke a window, and that window will ask you which kind of geometry you want to select. So there is a single, bench 1, simple, bench 1, bench 2, a dam, general. Okay. General is a tricky one. So simple is better in our sense because we will consider a slope. So simple. So in this simple, if they will ask for some dimension, you click OK. So they will ask for a dimension. Suppose I want to select height of a bench of a slope is 10 meters. So 10 meters. So angle of the slope is 45 degree. Okay, no problem. So depth. So how much depth you want to take? 10 meter you take. Left side 10 meter you take. On the right 10 meter you take. Okay. So on the left coordinate is 0, 0. Okay, done. So the leftmost coordinate is 0, 0 and 10 like that it is advanced. So this is a typical slope. So this slope we are not using any command here. Everything we will do following the inbuilt feature, the GUI feature it is available. So after doing that, we have to put some material here. We have to put some material. So create some material, fill it. So here in this material, there is a model is Mohr Coulomb, ubiquitor, modified Hook and Brown. So we are considering Mohr Coulomb and we have to give density 2000, cohesion is 25 kilopascal, tensile strength it is 0, we have assumed, frictional angle of internal friction particularly is 20, Dilation angle we have considered 0, 0. So we are not considering the material with a dilation behavior. So now, okay. So we have to select this material to this slope. So this is the most simplest one. So any kind of slope can be simulated. Okay. Now, okay. Now, what you have to do? Yeah, you stop here. You stop here, Kapoor. I want to discuss something.
Okay, sir.
This discussion is very necessary. I thought, because a few months ago, a MTech student, he did work in the flag for 2 years. He worked on the flag for 2 years. So when I asked, what is your grade size? The person answered me in that board, in the examination board, answered me medium size. I was a bit confused. What is mean by medium size? In a technical term, medium size grid, what does it mean? So I was trying to think I was asking what is the grid size in meter, 1 meter, 1 meter by 1 meter, or 1.5, 2.5, like, is it so? No, sir, it is medium size. You see, 2 years he have worked, he does not know the grid size. In the first hands-on module demonstration, on the first line we have mentioned the grid is 10, 10. 10 number of grids on the horizontal side, 10 number of grids on the vertical side, and the length of the horizontal side is 2 meters, means 200 centimeters. So 10 number of grids means 20 centimeter grids we have. So each grid size is 20 centimeter by 20 centimeter. So one simulation will comprise of 20 centimeter by 20 centimeter. So this is called the grid size. So here you click the medium one. You click the medium one because you click the medium one. Then I thought, okay, in the flat slope module, there is a specific toolbox called medium, code, fine. So student has blindly told me medium, so he does not know that what it means. So you see, if you count it, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, 36, 37, 38, 9, 40. So 40 number of grid is used. The length is, this is the 10 meter, this is 10 meter, this is also 10 meter. So 10, 10, 10, 30 meter length. So 40 number of grids is used. This is 10 meter. This is 10 meter means how many? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. It is around 30. Around 30. So 30 number of vertical means row wise and 40 number of in the column. So based on that I can recalculate what is the dimension of each grid. So please remember that grid size means the length of the extent of a value we are considering with the particular grid. So one grid occupies how much amount of spatial distance as well as the height. So this is to be clear. So median grid we have considered. So then what to do? Suppose
solve mathematics.
Okay. So solve any slope problem. Minus will ask you what is the factor of safety? What is the stability factor? So flat has come out. 1 minute. You stop it here. All the factor of safety calculation is done by a deterministic calculation of limit equilibrium method. And that limit equilibrium method calculates very specifically the amount of shear resistance to the amount of mobilized shear stress. Mobilized shear stress, the ratio. So if the ratio is greater than 1, it's good. So that LEM is trying to find out. That is not possible in a numerical toolbox. that is not possible. So what numerical toolbox is following? It is called strength reduction technique, SSR. This SSR means that the shear failure, mobilized shear or the resistive shear that has been offered by the material is based on what? Based on the shear resistance of the material. So shear resistance of the material comes up with the C and phi. C is the cohesion, phi is the internal friction. So in the 1980s, most probably 1980s, those who are working with the finite element based method and they could not come up with a factor of safety for a numerical model, they propose a new scheme. Why not consider the strength reduction method? Strength reduction method is gradually they will try to reduce the value of C and phi, and we know the shear strength is equal to C plus sigma and tan phi. Sigma and tan phi. So for the phi is tan phi dash, tan phi double dash, tan phi double dash divided by tan phi triple dash, then again tan phi double dash, triple dash, 4 double dash. In this ratio, it will increase one direction, so the factor of safety is increasing, then it will reduce like that. So means increasingly I will increase the C value or decreasing the C value as necessary to see that at what C value the ratio between the mobilized one and the resistive one becomes equal 1. So by increasing and decreasing the shear strength, we are estimating the factor of safety. Okay. So here in this factor of safety calculation, you see here we are stop. फिर solve में जाओ. You see here there is a friction angle and the cohesion, and this will be calculated based on the SSR technique. You click OK. So you see there is a bracketed approach. On the bracketed approach, left side there is one value, on the right side another value. So both are 0 now. So first they will assume the left side value, it is now 0.5. So obviously our factor of safety will come less than 1. So bracketed approach means suppose for 0.51. So the left side will advance, right side will go left side. So in that way, it will try to find out the middle path. Okay. So finally, at the end of the calculation, it will find out the factor of safety in and around, that is the accurate value of the ratio between C and phi. So let's see how much value is coming. একটু গরম জল দিও তো, Okay. You see, after we have calculated the factor of safety following the shear strength reduction technique, here you see a envelope kind of a shaded area has been shown. This envelope area is representing a zone. Total shaded zone is representing the shear strength increment rate. Shear strength increment rate. So this is a new term for the mining engineer. New term in the sense that for a LEM based method, we used to find out the failure plane. The flat interpretation is that the failure plane will lie. The failure plane will lie in the within the shaded zone, because this much portion is showing a good amount of shear strain increment compared to the rest of the mass. So if there is any failure in the future, that failure will occur in and along this area. So this is a good representation, good interpretation in that term. That will show us the failure will obviously will be in and around this area. And this ash color dotted line is arrow line is basically showing us the vector plot, resultant vector plot. Resultant vector plot means the resulted cumulative velocity of that particular mass in which direction. Okay. So this velocity is resultant of the x and y both. So x square plus y square root over. So that is the resultant vector here. It is being shown. So that is also indicating that yes, if some amount of mobilization will be there, so failure will be in this particular direction. So based on that, I can in pretty advance I can shift my manpower, those who are working in the on the left side of the on the bench. Okay, left side on the bench. So in this way, interpretation of the flat slope may be very much useful for the mining engineers who are dealing with the bench slope stability or any kind of slope that they are encountering. So this is about the module 2. Or the module 2, we will use the ground water table line, Kapoor.
Yes, sir. Yes.
Okay. So yeah, before we go into the using the groundwater table, if anybody have any questions, we will first let's clear it. Stop it here. Let's clear it. Then we will go to that next module of the second example. Any question?
Sir.
Yeah.
Sir, in this case, you have taken 1000 a step. So in numerical modeling, we need to see the when we come at equilibrium stage. So after applying 1000 a step, can we see is this model reached at the equilibrium stage? Is there any option to find out we need to go beyond 1000 a step, or it is sufficient to stick on 1000 a step?
Oh, very good question. Right. Sikandar, you have pointed me in a very right direction. Yes, I am.
Actually, sir, I'm working on flag 3D, and sometimes I face this issue, and I randomly do these things.
Yeah. Very good question. Yes. So to answer this particular question, there is a parameter called unbalanced force. Okay. There is a parameter called unbalanced force. So this is not related to the flag slope calculation. It is related to the whole flag module calculation. So any calculation while we are doing in a flag, one parameter called unbalanced, UNBALANCE, the spelling we have to check, but unbalanced force. What we do in the initial days, what we have practiced earlier, we put the unbalanced force as a historical parameter, history parameter. So we put inside the command as a history parameter unbalanced force. Then suppose I run my model for 1000 steps. So I will plot after it has been done, I will plot the history plot of that unbalanced force, and I will see how much unbalanced force, whether it is modulating, increasing like that, or it is just like e to the power minus x like that, it is exponentially decreasing like that, or at some point of time it has been flattened. So if that flattened point is reached, my consideration obviously is my solution has reached equilibrium condition. There will not be any more convergence possible within this model. If else means the unbalanced force is on the increasing side, decreasing, but with a rate steep decrease is going on, we have to go for few thousand steps again to check that whether the curve is flattened enough. So this is one way to check the solution whether reached to a equilibrium condition or not. Is it sufficient, Sikandar? Is it clear, understandable to you?
Yes, sir. So at every time we need to see the historical graph, means the unbalanced force, or any thumb rule for the
unbalanced force. History plot of the unbalanced force.
Yeah, yes, sir, right.
Yeah, yeah. But one thing what happen when suppose you are dealing with same geometry, same material, suppose you are dealing with 3 lakh number of grids, okay, 3 lakh number of grids. So for that case, you have to definitely rely on this kind of function. Yes, only experience will not give you a sufficient exposure, and might be we can go to a wrong direction. So it is better to follow that a systematic way to see the unbalanced force is reached to a 0 point, or reached to a point there is no reduction is possible, like that. There are some parameters, because you have raised a question, very important question, and for doing a large amount of modeling, this conception should be very clear. So generally we are not doing any edit on the convergence criteria. Generally we are not doing any edit on the convergence criteria. But if necessary, because you know in the last class I have tried to show you, if the geometry complexity is so heterogeneous, sometimes even with the history plot, you will see that it is never reaching to equilibrium state. It will never reach to equilibrium state. So you will forcefully make the solution to a equilibrium state by changing the convergence criteria itself. So for that, basically CPP UDM extension are used. So there is a dedicated module, and you can go into the inside of that flat own algorithm, and you can change that value, and you can read on. I think in these cases, these are the things we have learned from the Itasca user group earlier. There was a very good, strong Itasca user group. So they used to put those kind of solutions. So I have seen this kind of solution, and they have used, and they have come out with a very good solution. Okay. Regarding this flat slope, any question, we will go to the next module of this same example. How to consider the theoretic line. Okay. Now, Kapoor, you go to the consider the groundwater flow.
Okay, sir.
You will consider the theoretic line. Here you consider the include water table of the same example. Okay. Have you remembered the material property you have taken earlier?
Yes, sir. Yes.
Okay. You consider the same material property,
Yes.
so that you show how much basically the influence of a ferritic line. And before we consider the ferritic line, I will put some line. I will tell some line that will be very much beneficial. First, get the material. There are number of layers is possible to consider, but I think people are going out, so maybe it is, they are thinking it is very difficult because I am using the command line. So let's complete in that way. So consider porosity 0.25, cohesion of the earlier model value. Okay.
Yes, sir. Yes.
Select all. Okay. Now in this model, 1 minute. In this model, we will not show today because already the student strength is decreasing. Here I can consider number of layers. It is possible. Suppose only one material property I have considered. It is possible that I can consider 200 number of material. So suppose 1 mm, 2 mm like layer is there, because when I have worked in the Western Coalfield Limited mine, there is a huge problem of the black cotton soil. Not only black cotton soil, top 20 meter from overburden is composed of at least 5 kind of soil. 5 kind of soil. So 4 meter black cotton soil, there are 2 meter another kind of soil. So you have to consider that within the slope. So to consider that, this layer or example is very much useful. 1 minute. Okay, you have already shown it. Yes, this kind of layering, number of layers, not only horizontal layer, it can also be like a rounded, curve, everything is possible in the flat. So within the ambit of the geometry, we can create lot of heterogeneity within our ambit. It is possible. So go to the groundwater again.
Okay, sir.
Okay. Now here Kapoor is trying to mention a groundwater. You put any groundwater table?
Okay, sir.
But there is a tricky one that I want to mention you. Yeah. So how easily we have incorporated the water table inside the slope mark. But field condition is not so easy. Field conditions are not so easy. When you will consider this groundwater table or phreatic line, I should specifically use a terminology, not groundwater, rather phreatic line. Because groundwater is called for the in situ one. Here it is a artificial slope. So here we have considered a line, and that line is representing a phreatic surface. But field engineer may ask you a very important question. How you have assessed that the phreatic line lies in that exact zone? The answer is, I don't know. I don't know in that sense that it is very difficult to assess. So for that, you need to feed so many pore pressure sensors so that you can actually assess where the exact phreatic line is lying at that particular point of time. So it's a very difficult data to collect from the field, and if your data is not correct, your representation and the model output will not match to the actual field condition. So those who will use, considering the phreatic line, pore water pressure, groundwater table, whatever, my warning to all of you that before you considering any profile of a groundwater or phreatic line, be ensured that your data is actually representing the field condition, because FLAC will calculate within a few minutes once you give the water table. There is no problem. But accessing the water table, its coordinate, its profile is very difficult in a real time. I'm telling you. So whenever you consider, you should collect the data from a reliable sources, or you will do yourself in the field, monitor geotechnical instrumentation and do collect the data, correct data, so that your model will represent a reality. So this is one suggestion and warning in regards to using the module of the groundwater table. And let's go to the next, how this module can be run. Yes. So groundwater table is considered. Then the grid, medium-sized grid, again medium-sized grid. Remember, do not call it medium-sized grid. Rather, always represent it in a dimension, 2 meter by 2 meter or 1.5 meter by 1.5 meter, like that. Okay. Now solve it. Suppose material property, there is some variation, I think, because the factor of safety is coming above 1. It was
लास्ट वाले मॉडल को सर स्टॉप कर दिया था, इसलिए सर थोड़ा
yeah. So actually I was want to show that how much role played by groundwater thing. In my experience, I have seen one of the most detrimental external parameter is the groundwater or the saturation condition. This is playing the most detrimental role for the slope instability problem. Okay, for the slope instability problem, most detrimental parameter is the pore water pressure. I can rate the pore water pressure is the number one rather than the dynamic load. Dynamic load is not so detrimental compared to the pore water pressure level or the ferritic line. This is my experience from that I am telling you. In general, sometimes 30%, 35% reduction of the factor of safety is observed with the groundwater table consideration in the model. So this again, it is showing the SSI zone, shear strain increment zone, and this in zone is basically indicating us that if the failure will be there in this slope, that failure will necessarily be within the zone, and this much amount of velocity means how much amount of rate of deformation is going on. We can back calculate from this data. So this is the advantage of this. So if you have any question on this, we will discuss. Else we will go to the module 3, because at least I want to complete 3 modules today. If you have any question, please.
Sir,
Yeah.
in the previous model and in this model, we are mostly taken similar material property, but in this case,
there is a difference. That is what I have pointed out to Kapoor Chand. In the material property, there is a slight variation, and else it could not be, factor of safety could not be 1 or greater than 1. So there is some mistake while putting the input. We have tested it in the morning again.
okay, right, sir. And the second question, in this model you have put the water table, but the ferritic surface is, I think, almost in the parabola side. So, but in this case, you have put like in bench.
Right. That is what I have devoted some amount of time on this only.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
My point was that I can consider any geometry of the ferritic line. There is no problem considering in the model. But you have to ensure that geometry, the profile of that particular ferritic line should match the field condition. We do not have data, so we have arbitrarily taken. You have rightly pointed out that this is not a linear profile, it should be a curved one. You are very correct on that. And that is why I have mentioned very particularly that before inserting a condition of water table or ferritic line, whatever is there, be ensure that your data of this profile is very accurate to the field. Else you do not use it, my suggestion is. Because that will lead to erroneous solution. So in my case, what I have considered a horizontal line, actually it is not so. It should be a curve there, and that curve is basically parabolic. You have rightly pointed out. Is it?
Yes, sir.
Any more questions?
No, sir.
Okay. So Kapoor, you please close this module so that we can go to the 3rd module at least. At least we can complete 3 modules at least today. So you go to the UCS test today. Okay. We will leave the dynamic load today because I think student is going out. So let's at least complete the uniaxial compressive strength, because uniaxial compressive strength tests are done by everybody in the geomechanics lab. So sometimes, or already some of you have some data, or some people will get the data in the future. Okay. So let's show you a very simple UCS test specimen. Here in the first window you see all these elements is coming. Okay, you put the OK button, no problem. Okay. And give the file name.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now our sample is 50 mm the sample we have used. It is a 2D sample, and length is to diameter ratio is basically 2.5 layers. We have kept it as a 2 here. So our dimension is 50 mm dia, and the length is 100 mm. Okay. And to consider that, we have considered 10 number of grids on the column direction. Column direction is 50 millimeter. 50 millimeter divided by 10 means 5 millimeter is my grid size. 5 millimeter is my grid size as well as horizontal as well as vertical direction. So 5 millimeter by 5 millimeter is my grid size. And top height is so it is 100 mm. So that size ratio is maintained. So first we have mentioned the grid 10 by 20. Then we have generated this block of 0, 0, 0, 0.1, then 0.051, 0.1, then 0.050. Okay, so this is the 4 points, and the I is 1 to 10 and J is equal to 1 to 20. So this is the geometry is created, and that is what you are observing. In this material also we have considered it is a Mohr Coulomb. It is a Mohr Coulomb. So we have considered it a Mohr Coulomb criteria from 1 to 9 and 1 to 9. And this is a rock sample, so we have grouped it as a rock sample, and that rock sample from I is equal to 1 to 10 and J is equal to 1 to 20, and it is not null again. So this is a material, this is not a hollow material, it is a material, so it is a not null. And rock sample as provided with a material property of density 2000, shear modulus 1 into 10 to the power 10, bulk modulus 1 into 10 to the power 11, cohesion is 25 kilopascal, and friction is 23 degree, and group is rock sample. So this rock sample material property is defined. What do next? Suppose yes, next is we have to do in a uniaxial compressive strength. What we do? In a uniaxial compressive strength, we put the sample on a floor of the machine, and that floor is fixed in. That will not allow any movement at the movement means any displacement at the downward direction as well as on the horizontal direction, both on the top as well as bottom. So the sample is fixed on a flattened, two flattened both sides. Okay. So in that way, that has been reflected in our boundary condition. Fixed is x, y, j is equal to 1, bottom. Fixed x, y, j is equal to 20. So this is mean fixed. Okay. Now we are not considering the gravity of the sample, because we have analyzed it in a very detailed manner, that the role of gravity for the uniaxial compressive strength estimation is very, very meager. So we are ignoring that. So our uniaxial compressive strength estimation is done by the upper platen is moved downward, and as the Newtonian mechanics tells us, each force when it's been exerted on a body, that body is exerted with the equal amount of reaction force. We know that. Everybody knows that. It is a Newtonian law for every this celestial body is being obeyed by that particular law. So what we are doing in the numerical model, we are instead of relying on the reaction force, we are applying both opposite directional velocity on the sample. So sample is being compressed. Sample is being compressed from both the direction. Both the direction means along a line. Along a line. That is why it is called uniaxial. Along a single line means in a perpendicular direction. Okay. In a perpendicular direction. So upper platen is lowered. Bottom platen is upward. Okay, with a specific velocity. And many tests, I have also seen many good books, those who have done a exhaustive amount of modeling on the UCS. They are suggesting that loading rate in the range of 1 into 10 to the power minus 6 is very good. 1 into 10 to the power minus 6 is very good loading rate, velocity. Here we will apply the velocity at the top platen as well as at the bottom platen. So top platen velocity will be negative and the bottom platen velocity will be positive because it is upward. Okay. So similarly we have applied the velocity, apply velocity command, apply. So you see the syntax is very easy. Command is very easy. Apply velocity, y velocity, 1 into minus 1.0 e to the power minus 6 from 120 to 1020. Okay, so this is the upper platen. Apply y velocity 1 into 10 to the power minus 6 from 11 to 10.1, that is the bottom platen. So my sample generated with a material is defined, it is not null, boundary condition is defined, and now the sample is being pressed in both the upper platen as well as lower platen. Now you run for 1000 or 2000 steps, you run it. Okay, run is being done. So why I have run only 2000 steps? To show you a quick result of estimation, how this estimation is going to be. Now you plot the plot YD field. Yeah, it's a beautiful plot. You see, the upper platen and the bottom platen is being pressed in an opposite direction. Both are in opposite direction. So there is a homogeneity of the contour of the deformation on the upper side as well as lower side, because the material we have considered it is a more or less homogeneous. So that is why the deformation pattern also showing it is an homogeneous one. Now, so this is all about a test, how to interpret the test result. So test is done, test output is now visible, but how to get more data out of it? How to get more data out of it? So there are a lot of ways. One is putting some monitoring point. Suppose in a uniaxial compressive strength, also in a physical lab, what we do, we put some sensor on the wall of the sample to measure the deflection during the loading. Okay, and that number of sensor is been put. So we can put number of monitoring points. We can monitor the strain. We can monitor the deformation. We can monitor the stress. Anything, any kind of sensor is possible virtually in this model that we can do. We have not fixed yet the sensor, the monitoring point, but we can analyze along any line, along any portion of the sample, how much the stress distribution along the line, along the plane. Okay. So go to a profile. You take a data on the middle side, middle portion. The horizontal line you take. No, horizontal line. Yeah. Horizontal line you have taken. So we can get data about the profile along this line, how much amount of deformation, how much amount of displacement, how much amount of strain is developed along this line that we can plot. So any one plot you show? Yeah. You see there is a profile. So I am now mining out some of the data from the sample. So there are toolbox available. We can do it using the command also. We can put the plot line, then which variable I want to get, then the line coordinate along the line, what is the coordinate of the line. That way we are generally doing that. But for simplicity, that in the command window mode, excepting command window mode, there is also Windows mode GUI. So using that GUI, you can plot and interpret the data in this way also. So this data is showing along that line what is the profile of the y displacement, that is the displacement along y displacement. So this is a very simple one. I summarize the three models that I have discussed in this way. Before we consider in any model, I will first summarize, then I will take the question. Any model I want to consider, we have to first define the geometry very well. So for that geometry, you need a very good data from the field. Which kind of structure you want to map? Second, how much computational capacity you have, based on that you can select the number of grids, because if the number of grids is increased, calculation will be very in a smaller sample, and that will be very accurate. So, but if the computational power in your computer is low, then it will be very difficult. Remember, this software is running on a CPU mode. Okay, only CPU mode, not GPU mode. So your CPU should be very strong. Third is material property and which kind of constitutive criteria you are using. So that you have defined. And you have to differentiate between null and not null. Okay. And the fourth is whether in your sample, in your structure, there is influence of gravity or not. So you can set the gravity accordingly or do not consider. Fourth is the boundary condition. Most important. Accurate boundary condition in the numerical model is the most important parameter. Okay, because boundary condition, we do not have time today. What is the importance of the boundary condition? I could have shown you in the consideration when we will consider the dynamic load. That is very important. That is very sensitive with the boundary condition. If some amount of error is there, model will go into the chaos. That we can show you. So boundary condition is done. Now, what kind of loading condition you are using? Whether you are applying some external load, or whether you are still relying on the gravity load of the material itself, or that is self weight of the material. And the next is how much amount of time step you will select. That is a very important question placed by Mr. Sikandar Kumar. He is also student of our department. That what should be our guideline, that the solution has reached the equilibrium or not. For that, we have not used here in this model in the today demonstration any unbalanced force. So generally in a big model, we always put a parameter as a history point, unbalanced force, and we used to see after completion of the number of steps that has been computed with the flag, what is the profile of the history plot of the unbalanced force. If it is been found from the profile that the unbalanced force on the diminishing side and reach its flat curve, no more decrease after some steps, then I can pretty assure my model is reached the equilibrium state. So this is to be ensured. So these are the principal points that we have to remember and follow, and accordingly the command will be reflected in the console window. My suggestion will be to all, initially to use the command it would seem difficult, but in a longer range and a longer run, you will find this is the most advantageous way of doing the program in flag module. Okay, because one thing I could not show you today, that is the most powerful tool in the flag have, that is a FISH program. Nowadays in the recent version of the flag, this FISH module is been clubbing together with the Python code. So those who are very expert of the Python, they can also write program in Python, some amount of calculation. Suppose you want to define. Suppose you want to define a new constitutive criteria in your solution. So write down that in a Python, import that in a FISH mode with a link extension of the FISH program, and that you can insert and that you can calculate, no problem. So that is one of the most strongest points in the programming of the flag is using of the FISH code Earlier it was only fish code. Nowadays Python is been added in that particular portal, so we can use the Python also. So my suggestion would be always use this command mode. Initially it will look inconvenient, but in the longer run it would be very useful for you. So this is all about today. I have thought about covering some few more things, but time do not permit us because I have to take some questions from you. If you have any question, now ask, please. Anybody, if you have any question? Balveer?
Yes, sir. Yes, I am here.
The T is missing in this meeting, Balveer.
Yes, sir.
A cup of tea is missing in this meeting.
Cup of tea. Yes, sir, sir.
Understood that?
Yes,
a cup
sir.
of hot tea is missing in this seminar.
Yes, sir. Yes. So,
Yeah,
sir,
yeah, yeah. Okay, any question? Please.
Sir, at the last, I want one suggestion from you.
Yeah.
Sir, as you already shared in the first class, this is software, and what you give, you will get something. So it is very difficult to extract the information after the numerical modeling. So what you suggest the students so that we can get maximum information from the numerical modeling? There are some plot and any color. So it is very difficult to get the information, right information. So what do you suggest at this time, sir?
Please repeat your question. Please repeat your question again.
Sir, as you said in the previous class, first class, that this software, what you give, you will get something. So
yeah.
So after numerical modeling, obviously we get the contour, different color. So it's very difficult to extract the information what we are looking for. So what you suggest to extract right information from the numerical modeling?
Okay, right. Very important question. Okay, thank you, Sikandar. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Very important question. Now, see, that is why in my last lecture I have told you the easiest way to get a confidence that your data output is good, accurate, is to try on a experimental result that is available with you. For example, I have a YouTube channel. I have a YouTube channel with a Radhakanta Kunan name, and you will find a good many number of geomechanical number of experiments that is being taught in the rock mechanics lab for the student of the Department of Mining Engineering. Though I know there are some limitation in the initial days because at that time I do not know how to record it, how to professionally record it. There are so many problems, but the information there in the video is very much useful. So from that data you can get, from that video you can get some data about some test, suppose uniaxial compressive strength, about the triaxial test, about the direct shear test, about the Brazilian test. So these data are available. That is a reliable data. We have tested it in our laboratory. And not only that, in that video, I have tried to show you the dimension of the sample, which kind of sample I have used, whether it is sandstone, where from this sandstone has been collected, what is the dimension of it, or whether any feature is there. So I have already mentioned that in that video. So starting point would be, take any video, consider it, consider all the data that has been there in the video, just replicate that in a numerical model and get the data output. Okay, that will give you a better confidence, because otherwise you do not have the access to the lab, so you are not in a position to do any experiment, so you can use it. Second is, the result you are getting from the numerical output, suppose you see the estimation, the result you got, suppose the point load estimation, the result you got on the numerical modeling, you interpret the same result. Whether the data that you have interpreted and that is actually in the lab, it is matching, then only you will find out whether your numerical modeling needs fine tuning or it is sufficient. So this is the number one. Second is whether the data is correct in your numerical output that you are concerned with, Sikandar. That way you can also consider this experiment. Another example is, suppose you are considering a slope height of 10 meters. Suppose you are considering a underground cavern with a 200 meter below from the surface. You have run the model. Okay. So you are now calculating at the top rooftop point, what is the amount of stress being developed? Okay, what is the amount of stress? And you have calculated what is the stress. Okay, you are now with your monitoring point. You have monitored in the numerical model. What should be the actual stress? It should be rho GH. Rho is the unit weight. That is the density. G is the gravitational acceleration. What is the depth? There is 200 meters. So in this range, your stress should be there in and around in the top portion of the circular tunnel. So in that way, if the value in your model it is coming in that range, then it is okay. If it is else, you have to consider reviewing that there is some error in your model. In this way, there are some points. Start from the benchmark. Those are the benchmarks available with you. Okay. Match the result with that benchmark, and if there is any anomaly, revert back to the model, correct it, and go again. So this way you can proceed. This is my answer, Sikandar.
Thank you, sir.
If anybody have any question, Balbir,
Yes, sir.
Sir,
Abhishek have a question. Abhishek, please.
sir, actually I am very much new to FLAC, and today what you have explained, I have understood it up to 60 to 70%. So can you please suggest me some basic books so that I can read that one and implement that one?
Okay, okay. Now, my suggestion would be, FLAC do not have any book in general. FLAC user manual is sufficient. User manual is very exhaustive. So if you possess the FLAC software, in the help file there are so many PDF manuals. Okay, so go through any one. And if you are not comfortable with any one, there is one file. It is called what is the first file name, Sumit? What is the first file name? Command reference or into starting? What is the file name? I forgot the file name.
Yes, sir. The commands one was the first one.
Command reference, is it?
Yes, sir.
Command reference. It is the concise mentioning of all the commands available in the FLAC. So you can refer only that manual book, and that will suffice your purpose. Starting point is that. And how to check your result, that process I have already told you. So in that way, my suggestion would be, another suggestion is, there are some example file is already available in the FLAC module. Suppose any uniaxial compressive strength or a slope like that. Follow that example. Okay, follow that example. Get the output and match with the reality, and think how much amount of difference is there. Then, based on that, you reformulate your own structure or your own geometry and apply the conditions you require. So my suggestion is, there is no book. Rather, the manual of the FLAC is so exhaustive, so helpful, that it will be sufficient for you. And my satisfaction will be of these two lectures, if you people are inspired to do some work on these numerical tools. That will be my success. Yes, I have tried to percolate my knowledge to you, and you people have taken it. Maybe at the initial day you may find some difficulty, but as a friend of you, if you have any problem related to this model, I am always in your side. I will help you, no problem. But my point would be, you start learning, doing some problem solve, come out with a problem, we'll solve it together, then we'll proceed, so that the knowledge of the numerical modeling technique will percolate to a large community of the mining engineers in our country. That is my, that will be my satisfaction.
Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you. Balbir, I am giving you the mic.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir, for cooperating this workshop and coming to this. And thank you all for supporting us, all the contestants. And I'm also thankful to SME office bearer members, Surendra Shale sir, Anjali ma'am, Jayanand sir, Madhu Singhal sir, for organizing this work. And I would like to all those participants to on their camera so that we could have a good memory and of this workshop, and we could take some screenshots of this workshop. Could you please on your camera if you are comfortable?
Hey, camera switch on.
Please switch on our camera.
Yes, we have. So this is Kapoor, Sikandar. Hi, Sikandar ji, how are you? Oh, this is Sikandar.
Yes, sir. It was very interactive session, sir. Thank you for this session, and also I looking forward to learn more from you. And sir, also I thanks SMB for organizing. Yes, sir.
सिकंदर लास्ट में क्या बोला?
सर बहुत अच्छा सेशन था। मैं चाह रहा हूँ नेक्स्ट बार और आप करें सर, बहुत कुछ नया सीखा हूँ। ये यूजर मैनुअल से कुछ हटके था। मैं आज तक यूजर मैनुअल में बहुत कुछ नहीं सीख पाए थे, जो आपसे एक्सपीरियंस से सीख रहा हूँ।
Yeah. It would be my pleasure to organize this kind of session in a frequent interval. No problem. I will be happy to organize that.
Yes, sir.
And I request you the SME chapter to host that. I am always ready to volunteer this kind of workshop for the learning of my students. Oh, Vishal Mahapatra is there. You have joined IIT Kharagpur?
Yes, sir. Good evening, sir.
Good. Go on. Doing good work.
So it was a very good session, sir.
Okay. Aniket, Naveen, Nitin, Aniket Kumar, Anurag Agarwal, he is also our student. He is very good. अरे तब तो हम लोग का ही स्टूडेंट है. Good. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you all.
अरे सबसे पहले सत्येंद्र जी को धन्यवाद दीजिए. सत्येंद्र जी, he has thought first time that we can organize this kind of lecture, and I readily agree. Thanks to Sudhirna.
Thank you, sir.
So
Okay. Follow.
okay, sir. So may I conclude this meeting now?
Yeah, very good. Lekin I think that
I'm happy for the appreciations all the participants gave
hot
us.
tea, okay, hot cup of tea. That would have been better.
Yeah, so sir, we will provide to you a good trip for this. Okay,
And
now.
thanks to Chan, thanks to Kapoor because Kapoor is a student. I can tell you. It is not to praise my student, but what I think is a student is trying to really learn the numerical toolbox, different numerical toolbox, and he has a very good passion. And honestly speaking, during my student days, whatever I have learned, but during my as a joining as a teacher here and trying to help my students in those days, and Kapoor was one of my earlier students. From their questions, sir, this is the problem I am facing. This is the problem I am facing. So from that question, basically, I have learned a lot. So it would be my honor if our students are come up with more and more questions. That will basically increase our horizon of the knowledge. So as a student, I have rightly pointed out that when I am working, might not be I am looking after each and every point. But when question will come, okay, why this question will come, how to solve that? So based on that introspection and trying to solve that problem, you will learn many.
Thank you, sir.
Good job. Thank you, Kapoor.
Thank you, sir.
Doing good work. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Thank you. Good night, all of you. Stay safe. And hope in the campus, in the physical campus. Okay.
बिल्कुल सर.
We are eagerly waiting for you when you will come back.
Okay, thank you, sir. I am now concluding this meeting.
Okay. Thank you, Baldev. Thank you.